Hello, good day everyone. My name is Richmond D. Garandang from the SHM3B, and I'll report about the Labor Code provision on labor relations, collective bargaining agreement, and issues on Philippine unionism. So let's start. With labor relations. It is the practice of managing and maintaining relationships with employees organized by labor unions, including the establishment, negotiation, and administration of collective bargaining agreements. So next with the labor relations law. It focuses its provisions on the collective aspects of employer-employee relationship. Its legal provisions deal with employees organizing unions and how through these unions employees are able to have collective bargaining with their employer. Article 13, Section 3 of the Philippine Constitution on Labor Management Relations. A. Full protection to labor, local and overseas, organized and unorganized. B. Full employment and equality of employment opportunities for all. C. Right of all workers to self-organization, collective bargaining, and negotiations engage in peaceful, concerted activities including the right to strike in accordance with law, security of tenure, humane conditions of work and living wage, and participate in policy and decision-making processes affecting their rights and benefits as may to provided by the law. And D. Promotion of the principle of shared responsibility between workers and employers. E. Preferential use of voluntary modes of settling disputes including conciliation. F. Recognition of the right of labor to its just share in fruits of production. And G. Right of enterprises to reasonable return of investment and to expansion and growth. What is collective bargaining? It is a process where the parties agree to fix and administer terms and conditions of employment which must not be below the minimum standards fixed by the law, and set a mechanism for resolving their grievances. What is collective bargaining agreement or CBA? It is a contract executed upon request of either the employer or the exclusive bargaining representative of the employees, incorporating the agreement reached after negotiations with respect to wages, hours of work, and all other terms and conditions of employment, including proposals for adjusting any grievances or questions under such agreement. Is the ratification of the CBA by the majority of all workers in the bargaining unit mandatory? Yes, the agreement negotiated by the employees bargaining agent should be ratified or approved by the majority of all the workers in the bargaining unit. Is there any exception to the requirement of mandatory ratification by the majority of all the workers in the bargaining unit? Yes, ratification of the CBA by the employees in the bargaining unit is not needed when the CBA is a product of an arbitral award by appropriate government authority or by a voluntary arbitrator. For your information, freedom period, it refers to the last 60 days immediately preceding the expiration of the 5-year CBA. A petition to certificate election may be filed during the freedom period. Where to file the application for CBA registration? Application for CBA registration shall be filed at the regional office that issued the certificate of registration or certificate of creation of chartered local of the labor union party to the agreement. So, when to file the application for CBA registration? The application for registration of the CBA shall be filed within the 30 days from the execution of such CBA. What are the following requirements for CBA registration? Following are the requirements for CBA registration: original and 2 duplicate copies which must be certified under oath by the representative of the employer and labor union concerned. The collective bargaining agreement, a statement that the collective bargaining agreement was posted in at least 2 conspicuous places in the establishments concerned for at least 5 days before its ratification, and a statement that the collective bargaining agreement was ratified by the majority of the employees in the bargaining unit of the employer concerned. What constitutes CBA registration? It is a process of determining whether the application for registration of a collective bargaining agreement complies with the rules of CBA registration, specifically Rule 17 of Department Order Number 4003 of the Rules amending the implementing rules of Book 5 of the Labor Code of the Philippines. What is the effect of the CBA registration? The registration of the CBA will bar a certification election except within the last 60 days or freedom period before the expiration of the 5-year CBA. What is the lifetime of a CBA? With respect to representation aspect, the CBA lasts for 5 years. However, not later than 3 years after the execution of the CBA, the economic provision shall be negotiated. The Philippine Unionism. Unions arrived in the Philippines when Spanish colonialism ended in 1898, both to the national liberation struggle by Isabelo de los Reyes, an anti-colonial leader who was a big landlord, but was jailed and exiled to Spain for his anti-Spanish writings. Filipino revolutionaries continued their resistance against colonial rule after Spain ceded authority to the U.S. in the Treaty of Paris in 1898. The struggles of the first Filipino labor union for just wages and working conditions in the tobacco and cigar factories in Manila inevitably converged with the resistance against U.S. colonial rule. What are the types of union in the Philippines? Union in the Philippines are classified into two types of sectors, public and private. Public sector union or public employees organization refers to an organization, union, or association of employees in the agencies of government which exists in whole or in part of the purpose of collective negotiations or mutual aid, interest cooperation and protection. Private sector union or labor organization refers to any union or association of employees in the private sector which exists in whole or in part for the purpose of collective bargaining or mutual aid, interest cooperation, protection, or other lawful purposes. That's pretty much all, and thank you for listening. I'm Richmond D. Karantang from BSHM 3B.